Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some of which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the former. This is Fire Chief by English Software, developed in 1985 by a guy called Tim Huntington, with music by, who I can assume is his wife, Glennis Huntington. And that's pretty much all the information there is out there on this game at the time. I don't have a physical copy of it, unfortunately, so I can't refer to the manual or anything like that. And the amount of information there is online about it is pretty sparse, to be honest. There's not even scans of the instruction book or the packaging or anything on sites like Atari Mania that are always pretty good for this sort of thing. The one thing I do know is that this was an Atari exclusive, so this wasn't available on any other platforms. And Tim Huntington also put out a couple of other games for English Software, including Crazy Copter and The Adventures of Robin Hood, neither of which I've played yet, but which we may well visit on this series at some point. So there's two main stages to the game. When I was a kid, I had no idea that the second stage existed. Because we had a pirate copy, we didn't have the instructions to hand, and I couldn't clear the first stage when I was a kid. And as such, I had no idea that there was a second part to this game at all. But hopefully today you'll get a chance to see both. So let's go play Fire Chief. Alright, here we are with Fire Chief by Tim Huntington, with music by Glennis Huntington. Let's jump right in and see how this goes. So, like I said at the start... Oh dear. This is a game that unfolds in two parts. The first part is you driving your car to wherever the fire is. Unlike in Atari's fire truck, you eventually get there, as you will see from the to-go indicator down at the bottom. And I'm not concentrating, so I'm crashing a lot. This game is hard, as you can probably see. Anyway, let's try and do it a little bit better, and I'll explain how you can actually manage the apparent chaos of what is going on here. Now, you'll notice that this game moves incredibly quickly. However, you've got a few tricks up your sleeve. First of all is, if you can see... Oh! If you can see that little spinning white thing on the right hand side, that indicates the current fast lane on the road. And so if you keep on that for the minute, the cars that are approaching you will be much easier to deal with, because you can just slow down a little bit and then overtake them like this. Whereas all the other traffic is moving much more slowly. And so if you stay in one of those lanes, then you're probably just going to plough straight into something. The trade-off with that is, because the fast lane is moving so fast, it means you need to... oh dear. It means... I'm really not demonstrating this game to the best of my ability. I do apologise. Anyway. Let's try and do that a bit better. Yeah, it does mean you have to accelerate pretty much straight away in order to keep up with the rest of traffic. Now, you do also have a facility called Burn, which you can use by holding down the fire button, and that just allows you to pass straight through anything. But you've only got a limited supply of that, and you get a bonus for how much of that you have remaining at the end of the level. So you want to try and hold on to that, really, and just avoid things. And contrary to what your natural instincts might be in a game like this, it's actually in your interest to sort of control your speed a bit, so that the cars in the lane you're in are a bit more manageable to deal with. And you'll notice that as you progress, the fast lane moves to different lanes as well. And for some inexplicable reason, unlike on a real motorway, the fast lane is not the lane by the edge, but it's always one of the middle ones, it seems. I don't think I've ever seen it be the top or the bottom one. So one way of succeeding is just what I'm doing here, which is just to match speed with the car in front of you like this, and not even bother overtaking. It's definitely an option, but it's more fun to do a bit of overtaking every now and then. I just feel like this game... Oh, it does go to the outside. There we go. Yeah, I always feel like this game is one of the best simulations of overtaking on a regular road that I've ever encountered. Because it's really got that feeling of sort of peeking out from... Oh, get away. Really got that feeling of peeking out from behind a thing that you're stuck behind, waiting for the right moment, and then quickly nipping out to the side, hopefully before you plough into the back of anything. Oh, we're nearly there. We've done it! So, lovely big bonus for our remaining burn. And we then arrive at the scene of the crime, because there's a mad arsonist on the loose. Cutscenes. Love it. So, what you have to do in this bit is you're trying to retrieve that disc, which is over on the right-hand side there. Oops. Love the little animations in this. And you can get to that by spraying your hose, but your hose cannot get rid of the big flames. It can only get rid of the small flames that they spread. So you can't actually get rid of the fire completely. You can just sort of clear some of the mess that it's made. And so what you need to do is wait for the fire to kind of get out your way. And then nip in, clear a path for yourself, get the disc, and get back out again. And again, you get a nice bonus depending on how much water you've got left at the end of the level. And then you just go do it all again. So I kind of hated this game when I was little because I couldn't get past this driving phase because I didn't really understand the kind of strategy you needed to use in it. Like the whole matching speed and that kind of thing. But playing it now, it's actually rather addictive once you get your head around that initial difficulty spike, because it is a bit of a brick wall to begin with if you're not ready for it. Yeah, this game's got quite a nice rhythm to it. I mean, arguably this bit goes on a little bit too long, and the actual building sequence could have a little bit more could have a little bit more interest and complexity to it. Oh, bollocks. But it's fun, and it's really nicely presented. I mean, at first glance, those graphics might look a bit simple, but just look at the use of colour throughout this game. It's gorgeous. So you've got that lovely sort of gradient effects on the text down at the bottom on the interface. When we get to the actual building, the cutscene as we're going into the building, there's this lovely sort of sunset effect on the sky. Quite a common technique that. You see that in a lot of Activision games. And they kind of mastered pulling that off on the 2600 as well. So a lot of their Atari 2600 games have that sort of gradient sky effect in them as well. And then you've got things like that gratuitous use of 256 colours on the title screen. That was an effect that a lot of Atari programmers used to love showing off at every opportunity. Because it was seen as something that the Atari could do that other rival platforms at the time couldn't do. So while there's a lot of instances of Atari versions of games looking a bit worse than, say, their Commodore 64 counterparts, so the Commodore 64 versions often tend to have more colourful screens. So something like the game Zybex, which we'll probably come to at some point, is a good example. So the Commodore 64 version of that actually has different actual hues on screen, whereas the Atari 8-bit version is all different shades of a single colour. But the one thing you saw all the time on the Atari systems, and I don't recall ever seeing on Commodore 64 and Spectrum and other contemporaries, is sort of the use of those 256 colour gradients going all the way through the visible spectrum. Often animated as well. There's a very popular effect called colour flow that was used an awful lot. I don't know if that was its official name, but that was the first time I encountered that effect. It was known as colour flow, so I've always thought of it as being called colour flow. Like that there. That's a good example of it. So you're showing all the possible colours that the Atari is able to display at once. That's a lot more than it's supposed to be able to show on screen at once. Right, that was much better, wasn't it? Lovely big bonus. And let's see if we can actually do another level. So the temptation to a certain degree is just to stay in this lane and not bother overtaking at all, because you do have plenty of time. And that's definitely the safest way to do it. You just have to keep aware of the speed of the car that you're following. Or in some cases the car that's coming up behind you. I think we're going to change lanes in a minute. There we go. So let's get past this dude. There we go. Oh, no. Get away. Just the speed this game moves at is phenomenal. Ooh. Got a big lane change over there. There we go. All the way to the other side. "41 ticks to go." I love the fact that there's like Formula 1 race cars on the road, as well as like... No! Oh, disappointing. There's Formula 1 race cars on the road, as well as trucks and cars and limousines and all sorts. Let's have one more go. One more go. This is the last one, I promise. It's like I say, I hated this game as a kid, but I've come to really enjoy it now. It's really addictive. It's one of those games where a simple idea really works in its favour. No, it's not perfect by any means. There's a lot of irritating things about it. You know how I said one more? Well, it might be more than one more. Because this is just unacceptable performance right here. Going a bit better now though. I should probably use that burn more, but because it is very helpful to just be able to drive through things, but the big bonus is nice. And it feels slightly like cheating. Oh, wrong lane. Well, this is not going to be my best run by any means, but you know, we're nearly at the building, so that's a start. I always think the bare minimum for a Fire Chief run these days for me is actually getting to a building in the first place. It's just not even getting that far. It's just depressing. Reminds me of those bad old days when I was a kid and I couldn't get past that first level. And I never had the joy of seeing little firemen getting booted into the building. Oh no! I feel like firefighting is a really sort of underrepresented thing in gaming. And there have been a few games based around the concept. And I've always had a good time with them. Like there was a firefighting roguelike a while back called Flame Over. If you get the chance to play that, definitely do that, because that's really good fun. A great soundtrack for that one as well, so I can highly recommend picking that up if you get the opportunity. It's digital only, I believe, so there might have been a limited run version of it at some point. I can't remember offhand, but yeah, that's definitely worth checking out if you get the chance. And this, obviously. As I say, I'm surprised how little information there is about this game on the internet, because Atari Mania is normally a really good site for finding out stuff about games from this period. Oh no! But they don't even have box art and instructions for this one, so I don't know, bit of a mystery. Anyway, that is Fire Chief by Tim Huntington, published by English Software. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did, and I'm tempted to continue playing this a bit more, even after we're done here. But I will probably resist for now. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue a small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.